around to it.
Nah.
You just gave me the eyes for when we were starting.
I just feel like we had it in our brains to just go hello at
That's
the same time.
empath in me.
The empath in me sensing that you're sensing that I'm saying hello is crazy. Wild.
Just sensing the environment.
Sensing the environment, dude.
I like that we're always like looking out for cars too, just to make sure there's no technical difficulties. I saw your look. You were like,
before we started, I was like, "Is there better not be a loud car coming on through here?" Because they know.
I was gonna tell you this actually. When I was editing one of the episodes, there was this one time we stopped for like this loud horn. You can't hear it.
Oh, like in the last episode?
Yeah, like you can't hear it at all.
So did you have to cut out the whole silent part?
Yeah, I just cut out like silence, so it was fine. But it was just like so funny because it was just like it was so blaring to us. Yeah. But I guess our microphones are just so good.
They're just such good quality. You can't hear the crazy loud beeps outside of my window.
Or we're just so loud that like we covered it.
You can't even hear cars over our beautiful voices. You're welcome.
Maybe it's like a frequency thing. Like our voices are such on like a high frequency level that it's like fine. You know?
Guys, did you hear that one? Since we're talking of cars, I wonder if they heard that one. Can you hear it? If you guys hear it, let us know in the comments. It's fun.
Comments where on the Instagram?
Yeah.
I wish there was comments available.
I know.
I guess if we post on YouTube like we used to.
I was thinking about that. You know, I don't know if you've been on our YouTube in a hot second, but the other day I was trying to make a surprise for you, but it didn't end up working because I couldn't find a way to rip the videos down.
Okay.
But I was going through our old stuff we posted on YouTube, and I was trying to get clips to like make a little reel for our 50th thing, but I couldn't like take the footage the way I needed to without ripping down the whole episode. But I was making clips. So if you go on our YouTube now and you can see like some clips from some of our episodes.
Yeah, if you ever like want to see videos of us, go to the Mystery Files. I think it's on the link tree too on the Instagram at the Mystery Files _.
Yes, but now we have a couple clips on there. Like, you know how like YouTube videos you can have clips?
Oh,
they're like it's like a separate video.
But so did you make clips or you couldn't?
No, I made clips. But I was going to do like a whole thing where I edited a thing for you, but then I lost my access to Premiere, and I also wasn't able to download all the videos. So know that my heart wanted to do that for you, but it didn't end up working, and we didn't have time.
The sentiment, that's
but
fine.
I went through like a bunch of episodes and made all these different clips that I was going to use, and now they're just nothing. But you can go look at them if you want.
It's okay. I think we're slowly. It's weird to talk about like on the podcast while everyone's listening to, but I feel like we're slowly always just getting better and better by the episode, like production wise, or just like in terms of branding and things. So that's pretty cool. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out how to do a compilation moment, maybe for 100. So
cute. Maybe for 100. But it's cute to like reflect now after we've gotten past the 50th. It's just like so sweet. And like I was looking a little bit back on our Halloween episode, our Halloween special we did the one year.
I love the Halloween special.
And I made a little thing of that, and then I randomly clicked on this one video, and it was the video where, remember Nick accidentally knocked on that window?
Yeah! And you screamed?
I screamed so loud on the podcast, and I was watching the video, and you could see him for like a minute straight tapping on the window in the old podcast studio.
Oh my gosh.
And I screamed so loud. I made a clip of it on the YouTube. So
what episode was that? Do you know what mystery that was?
I don't remember now.
Because I think I remember editing that one because we cut to you screaming and then it's the
like, beep. Yeah.
We'll be right back.
But it was just so weird because I accidentally clicked on that video and like I just like randomly scrubbed through it to a random spot and it was just happened to be right where I screamed and I was like, what are the odds of that? What are the odds?
It's so funny.
I know. Yeah. I was like, why was I yelling
so
like that? So.
Well, that's when we used to. We've talked about before in the podcast, but that's when we used to film at like 11 o'clock at night.
We were.
You and I used to be late.
I know.
We used to film so late.
Now we're elderly and we're filming at 6:01 p.m.
6:01 p.m.
So early.
It was supposed to be 4, but we wouldn't shut up.
We couldn't stop. We got coffee. Now we can talk because we have all the caffeine in our systems. But
we need to keep mic packs on us at all times so we can have exclusive content. Where it's just like pre-show.
Pre-show. At first, I thought you were gonna say. This is gonna sound so stupid. I didn't think you were trying to say mic packs. I thought you were trying to say like we could have a pack that has like an IV of coffee that goes through our bloodstream to keep us like going the whole time.
Well, that would be good. That'd be good too. I would love that.
It's a Mystery Files pack. But anyway.
Yeah. I also feel like this espresso is kind of hidden, but I don't feel super hyperactive yet. But we'll see.
I feel
it. Can change.
I feel it all in my veins.
I can feel it like behind my eyes, like the caffeine.
Like the twitching?
Not the twitching, just like the sensation you get after you drink some caffeine.
I feel
behind
it twitch.
Your eyes.
I feel it twitch everywhere in my body. Welcome.
You and I for sure had a caffeine addiction in college.
Oh yeah, I'm still coming down from that caffeine addiction. I'm trying not to, but yeah. For those of you who don't know, We are the Mystery Files. Hey, what's up? We're the Summer Tapes presented by Mystery Files.
We're still in the Summer Tapes.
I always goof that. So this is the Summer Tapes presented by the Mystery Files. And I'm Tiffany.
Yes, and this is episode, I would say, let me double check, because the last thing we covered was the haunting of the Perrin family.
Yes.
But that didn't necessarily count inside of the Summer Tape. So this is technically episode 8 of the Summer Tapes.
Hey.
So we're still chugging along nicely.
Still chugging along. She's
right on schedule.
Still great. But yeah, I'm Tiffany, that's Logan. I don't think you introduced yourself.
Oh, I'm Logan if you don't know.
If you don't know, that's
your
Logan.
First time ever listening to
Yeah, I'm like, I'm Tiffany, and you went, this is episode 8.
My name is episode 8.
I'm actually episode 8, so welcome. But yeah, for those of you who aren't listeners of us, I'm glad that you're here.
Oh my goodness.
And go check out our fun little 50th special. It's a 2-parter.
Yes, it's
she's
so
cute,
good.
she's fun and fresh, so welcome.
Very fun, and we're going to be doing more episodes like that soon.
Yeah.
It'll be my turn. You put in a hard haul of work doing Dover Demon, then going back with 2 episodes. You basically just did 3 episodes by yourself.
I basically did 3 episodes, and it was fun. But I'm glad this time I get to just relax and let you take the reins.
Oh, I'm very excited for what we're talking about today. I talked about it before, but you've definitely, I think, talked about it in a past episode, but it was briefly.
Okay,
We've never done a full case on this before, so
I'm excited.
I'm very excited. Would you like to give me a drum roll? Should we just run right into it?
Just do it. You ready for the drummies?
Yes.
Okay.
This week on the Summer Tapes, we are presenting the case of the Chupacabra.
Stop it. That's
go.
So fun. Okay, I'm glad it's a Chupacabra. At first, I thought you were going to say something alien related, and I was like, no, not another alien.
Well, I did say Roswell, and I was like,
oh,
I can't do it.
Did you say Roswell? I didn't even hear that part.
No. No. The Chupacabra's in Roswell. Well, that's a theory, because people believe the Chupacabra might be an alien.
So there is aliens involved.
There is aliens involved to some extent.
Ooh, okay.
But no, when I was looking to do this case, Roswell came up, but it was one of those things where it's like, Tiffany has a pass to do this case. I'm not allowed to cover this.
No, you can do anything you want.
Well, in
just
theory.
Like a race.
In theory. Because there was that one time you and I did the same case, back when we were...
Oh, the La Llorona?
Yeah.
Is that the one?
I think so.
No, it was. Because I literally created the whole case.
And then I did it that
week. And you
week.
did it because that's why I'm, like, refusing to try to move ahead. Like, I'm not going to make cases ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Because you're just going to cover it, and then I'm going to have done a case for no reason.
Well, you have a week to, like, produce it, so, like,
I know,
you're good to go.
But sometimes, like, if, say I did a case one week and I'm feeling, like, extra fun or something, I'll start another case. Mm-hmm. But what if you choose that case that next week? Then I'm out of luck, so I just made a case for no reason. That's why I stopped doing that, because La Llorona, you took it from me.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. La Llorona was fun, though. It was a good one.
You did good. You gave her justice. But I'm excited for a little Chupacabra.
Yes, exactly. I'm so excited for this one, too. So, just to give a little bit of, like, an insight, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. So, with the Chupacabra, we're going to be talking about, like, the history and background of it, like we usually do, as cryptids are. We're also going to talk about some sightings that are seen, as well as talking about if they're real, and maybe they're brothers and sisters as well. So
stop it, they have siblings?
Yeah.
That's cute.
So we're going to jump into all of that. So,
yay!
The Chupacabra, or Chupacabras, meaning literally goat sucker, comes from the Spanish word chupar, which means to suck, and cabras, which means goats, is a legendary creature in the folklore parts of the Americas, with its first purported sightings reported in Puerto Rico in 1995. Ooh. So this is a cryptid that is very, very new.
It is
new.
It's
not like, was really surprising when I was doing research for this, that like Chupacabras like are a fairly new concept. They're about, we're in 22 right now, so they're like 27 years old in terms of being like a cryptid that is known in the Americas.
It's so close to our age too. It's like it was made so we can cover it, you know?
Like it was in college when we started high school.
Oh my god, that's cute to think about.
That is kind of
cute. You go Chubby.
Well, it's just interesting thinking about that already.
Yeah.
Because like, I feel like we always go back to this, but I remember watching episodes of like What's New Scooby-Doo, and they did one on a Chupacabra. That means that like the Chupacabra only had existed for like 7-some years when they decided to do a Chupacabra episode.
That's weird to think about.
Isn't that weird? Like, they did a fairly new concept, but in my head, I was like, oh yeah, this has been a mythical legend for hundreds of years.
It's so weird to think that there's cryptid cases that were once new. Like, that makes you wonder, like, what people thought of every supernatural occurrence before. Like, what did people think ghosts were before? What did people think, like, I don't know.
What do you think the person who first saw a ghost thought? Like, that's,
they said, what the
so
heck is
much.
that? They said, you kept the stove on or something? What's going on?
But yeah, so the name comes from the animal's reported vampirism. The Chupacabra is said to attack and drink the blood of livestock, including goats.
That's creepy.
Yeah, so I think you talked about this before on the vampire episode. Like, I think very, very, very briefly.
I remember, like, briefly. There was a lot of stuff on that episode, so it's like...
Yeah, you covered a lot of different things, but I feel like I remember the Chupacabra coming up. And if it wasn't that episode, we had talked about it for, like, a sentence or two somewhere, but we've never done a whole deep dive on it.
That's so fun. I feel like, I don't know, this is like one of the cryptids I know the least about.
Really?
So I'm excited to like hear more about it.
Well, it's funny because like this, I said this to you before the episode, this is a cryptid I really, really enjoy. Like, probably up there with Mothman and Loch Ness.
Really?
But I have, like, a different relationship with Chupacabra. Like, I don't think about it too often, but, like, when I was consuming media as a kid and seeing cartoons like Scooby-Doo, when they did a Chupacabra episode, I was terrified. Chupacabra scared me.
It is, like, one of the scarier ones, because I feel like
the
Loch Ness Monster, I'm like, that's cute. Mothman is, like, intimidating, but he's still kind of cute.
But it's, like, funny. The idea of, like, a man as a moth.
Yeah, with little red eyes.
Around. Yeah.
But, like, Chupacabra, that's kind of scary. He's, like, scary.
Yeah, so the physical descriptions of the creature seem to vary from time to time. So it has been described as reptilian and alien-like.
Oh, okay.
And that usually comes from its first sighting in Puerto Rico and in Latin America. So a lot of people in Puerto Rico who said they have seen the Chupacabra state that it looks like a reptile, like a humanoid kind of creature, but as a reptile almost.
Reptilians scare the heck out of me. So seeing this thing...
Oh yeah, we're probably gonna use this exact like picture, like for the episode title. But I'll show you right now. Actually, this is what the Chupacabra kind of looks like.
Absolutely
like,
not.
Just
his stance.
Yeah, just like beady eyes that are super big, just like completely alienistic.
If I saw that on the street, I would simply throw up and run away. In that order.
Oh my god! But yeah, so that's one of the things with Latin America and Puerto Rico. They think he's just an alien creature, which would make sense. But genuinely, as a heavy creature the size of a small bear as well, with a row of spines reaching from its neck to the base down to the tail. So kind of dinosaurish too, like how like they got the little spikes down the back.
Wait a second, I feel like I'm making connections. Do you remember the monster on Monsters vs. Aliens? Like the one monster?
Yeah, the one that's like super jacked. He's got like pecs on.
Yes.
Or, like whatever.
Do you think that's what he's based off of?
You know, he might be. I could see that. I think he's based off like a swamp creature. Maybe.
Okay, but
I
maybe
think he
like
talks about coming from the water.
Yeah, because he also is in the sewer in some parts of it. But I'm like, do you think any of the influences that? Because I feel like that's exactly what I picture.
100%. Monsters vs. Aliens was very cryptid based too, I believe.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, I could see that a lot. I also just think about like just like any like sea creature. I'm thinking like the creature from the Black Lagoon, like just things like that. Just like anything that comes from water.
Just creepy little Arlie looking guy.
But the thing is that like it hasn't been the Chupacabra. The Chupacabra, I believe doesn't have any like relations to the water, even though it looks like a water-based creature.
Yeah,
like it's been told to live in the woods.
Ooh, maybe it's like an evolved thing.
I feel like that's even just like more jarring. Imagine like you see a reptilian creature like in the woods, like not near bodies of water. It's just
that's like seeing a fish, but if it was a human walking out on land.
like it's like, just walking to Starbucks, grabbing a quick drink.
And he's like all slimy and gross. Ew.
But other depictions of the Chupacabra, which we'll get into once we do a little more deep dives, also depict it as a dog-like creature. So almost like werewolf kind of like, or looking more like a big dog almost.
Okay.
But those stories come from southwestern United States, so that's more sense. Like Texas area as well.
I feel like that's how I always pictured it. Like I pictured it like furry. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. So sightings have been reported in Puerto Rico since the 1970s of a creature that has since been reported as far as north as Maine.
Okay.
Which I was going to talk about, which is just so wild because it's like around the southern border of the United States. People have said they've seen a Chupacabra before.
Yeah.
But it like nowhere else in any of that middle amount of states, and it's just Maine.
They're the only ones.
Exactly.
And did they see the same kind of one that the people in like Texas type area have seen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is one we're gonna cover in a little bit too. Like there's been a couple sightings reported in Texas as well.
Ooh, heck yeah.
So it's been as far north as Maine, and it's as far south as Chile.
Wow.
So it's like that's like almost not the whole hemisphere. I'm bad at geography, but it is a good amount.
That's a good chunk of the world. Pretty good chunk.
But it's also been reported to have been seen in countries like Russia and the Philippines as well. But they're a little more like spaced out, if that makes sense. They're a little more like every once in a while, instead of like with the Chupacabra where it's like very apparent it's in the Americas a good amount.
So my question is, I don't know if you have the answer to this, but the people who have seen it as like a reptilian and the people who have seen it as like a furry dog, like how are they sure that's part of the same family? Or do they think like there's different breeds of Chupacabra and that's why they look different? I wonder what was like the identifying thing that like these are part of the Chupacabra family. You know what I mean? Yeah,
well there's definitely like evidence to go along with that, because a lot of people seem to disregard this creature as being like anything crazy. A lot of people think it's an animal called I believe it's called the canid, which is a biological type of dog that's carnivorous. So it's a version of a dog, basically, that is a carnivore at heart.
Ew, that's cool.
And so a lot of people think like they're mistaking this Chupacabra for one of these, just like a dog that's like affected by mange, which is the type of skin disease that causes like those parasites that makes them almost like, kind of going back to the Wendigos episode, kind of like that idea of just like unquenchable desire for like
this is reminding me a lot of Wendigos. It also reminds me of like skinwalker type things. Like I can imagine like a creepy dog looking thing standing on its hind legs walking around like a human,
which is something we should cover too sometimes.
We should stuff. I feel like I've been thinking about it a lot lately, so one of us is gonna have to jump on that.
They got a lot of Discovery Plus originals about skinwalkers right now. I keep going on there, and they have like 40.
And you showed me that video the one day, right, of a skinwalker thing at the end of that hallway.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't even see it at first, and then you pointed it out, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, the shape of its body, I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah, it was like some abandoned building with this thing standing in the middle of the hallway at the end. Yeah. So stinking scary.
No, literally, it's so interesting.
It's horrifying
to think about. So we're gonna get into the history now.
Yes.
So, in 1975, a series of livestock killings in the small town of Mocha were attributed to El Vampirio de Mocha, which means the vampire of Mocha. Initially, it was suspected that the killings were committed by a satanic cult.
There we go.
Later, more killings were reported around the island, and many farms reported loss of animal life. Each of the animals was reported to have had its body bled dry through a series of small circular incisions.
Oh, so that's weird.
So they were, like basically like it looked like someone bit into it almost. But a lot of people thought it might have been a satanic cult that like drank blood, so they thought they were taking like their what are these called?
The canine teeth.
The canine teeth. Is that what it is? And biting into them. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is like also wild to think like a person in a satanic cult would do that.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
We talked about MGK and what's her face the one time sucking each other's blood.
Oh my gosh. The Transformers lady, Megan Fox. Jennifer's body.
Yeah. To be drinking
Jennifer's
blood.
body. She's a vampire.
Oh my god.
We didn't make that connection in the own episode, did we?
I don't know how we didn't. Well, I was gonna say something else. Oh, it reminds me of the American Horror Story, the first half of the one season we were watching. Yeah. Like the vampire looking people thing from that pill.
Yeah, which I just think that's why I really like the Chupacabra, because it kind of feels like it has a lot of elements of things we've talked about in the past. It's got vampires, it's got werewolves, it's got Wendigos.
I was gonna say it's really a call. I mean, we always do our callbacks, of course, but this is like a really good callback to our cryptids stuff, just because it's like not even cryptids, but supernatural things we've covered. It's a lot of the similar stuff. Yeah,
no, exactly.
I love it.
But yeah, so the first reported attack eventually attributed to the actual Chupacabras occurred in March of 1995. So even though the Chupacabra goes back to 1975, it wasn't first reported to being like a chupacabra till 1995. So that's why its existence has been known since 95, even though we have stuff
from
in the 70s.
Previous. Yeah. They wanted to know what it actually was before they started putting a label on it. You know?
Like if you saw something flying through the sky and you knew it was Mothman, but no one knew what Mothman was. Kind of given that almost.
It's like, who is that?
But basically, in March of 1995, 8 sheep were discovered dead in Puerto Rico, each with 3 puncture wounds in the chest area, and reportedly completely drained of their blood. Which is just very insanely weird. Like,
it's just all of their blood?
Yeah,
like there's a lot more than you think. Like, in a body, there's way more blood than you would think.
Exactly, especially in like a sheep too, like and especially since it was 8 of them, and just like it's very weird because like there's also this idea of like, oh, it could have been a family of wolves, it could have been this, like da 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 da.
But sucking something dry of its blood, like first off, like if that was one creature that was doing that, or if it was like more than one chupacabra doing that, how are they fitting that much blood inside their body that they're sucking? It's like a parasite or something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like it's craving like all that blood, so it needs those nutrients, and it's like taking all of it. That's why it's been referred to as like a vampire.
That's so weird.
And as a goat sucker too, because it like sucks the goats completely dry. Which is just it's wild. Because also at the same time too, how would a family of wolves know to make like incisions like exactly on the chest on 8 sheep?
Like, it's also very different than like studies of like how wolves do that in the first place. Like, it'd be different if wolves have always done something like that.
Wolves don't care. They'll shred.
They bite the neck of their thing and then they eat it. They chew on it. They're not trying to get all the blood. They're trying to eat the meat off something they're attacking.
That's a great point. I didn't even think of that. But whatever this thing was, just wanted the blood.
Like it wasn't trying to eat all the meat. Their nutrients are in the blood and not the meat that they're consuming. So like that's weird.
Which is just really crazy. So a few months later in August, an eyewitness named Madeline reported seeing the creature in the Puerto Rican town of Canovanas, where as many as 150 farm animals and pets were reportedly killed inside of this town. So this eyewitness believes that this was like the chupacabra. So Puerto Rican comedian and entrepreneur Severio Perez is credited with coining the term chupacabra soon after the first incidents were reported in the press. Shortly after the first reported incidents in Puerto Rico, other animal deaths were reported in other countries such as Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Honduras, Mexico, and Nicaragua. Panama, Peru, and the United States.
That's very broad.
Lot of places. Which I don't believe they cover this inside of the script that I pulled from articles, but I did watch a few videos as well talking about it. A lot of people aren't sure. I saw this through PBS as well. It was like a PBS documentary, which was really cool. But a lot of people don't know if because this comedian coined the term chupacabras, if it was just this mass hysteria thing where people were just assuming like a couple of livestock being gone here and there and like lumping the sums being like, oh yeah, this is a chupacabra. So this is another case of like, hysteria. Is it real or is it mass hysteria? Which is wild.
Because I was going to say, like, if it wasn't mass hysteria, this one seems like one of the more believable cases we've covered just because it is such a broad area of like sightings and stuff like that.
Even though I'm like, I feel like we've talked about before, I'm more on the side of logic sometimes. I feel like in my heart with this one, it just doesn't feel like a mass hysteria thing. Like, could a couple people be like, obviously being like, oh my god, it was a chupacabra when it was like not at all that? Probably. But just like some of the stuff that's happened with just draining of like all the blood of these animals completely. It's only one incision. It's just too weird. Even if it is just some random animal, it's still really weird. It is a weird phenomenon.
I feel like even going off of that, like, it would be kind of hard for this to be mass hysteria because you can debunk if someone was telling, like, a lie. Because, like, this is something you could totally debunk because you would actually have proof of, like, this creature being, like, drained of blood or, like, there was certain puncture wounds. Like, it'd be different if it was just, like, my animals are dead and missing.
Because,
like, you'd be like, okay, they just got eaten by something, or
like, a wolf came in, or, like, something may have happened. It's just, like, it's too weird that it's incisions, and, like, it said it was 3 too,
Mm-hmm.
which is why if you saw in that picture, a lot of people think it's reptilian because it has more of like a sucking kind of motion, like how like a what is it, like a fly almost, how it like will,
I
or
was
a
trying to think. Yes, a mosquito.
Yeah.
There was something very visual I was thinking of, and like the weird mouth. It's like long.
So I think it's got like a couple of teeth in there, like it has 3, and it can just go like.
That gross. I hate like seeing up close of flies. Mm-hmm. What was it? Was there a SpongeBob episode that showed like a fly up close?
Yeah,
and it scared the heck out of me.
For me, what I'm thinking about is A Bug's Life, the fly. How it like they made his like little mouth so
Ew.
like. Or it was his nose. It was something.
Why'd they have to make it so gross? Something. For why?
I don't know. A Bug's Life was so good, but they had some nightmare fuel in there.
They did. 100%. I was like scared of birds for a hot second there.
You know what?
Scary.
This is such a side tangent. Do you know my favorite scene in A Bug's Life?
What? Which one?
When they're in the circus and the fire starts happening.
Of course,
and
fire.
The stick bug is like running like this, like
That makes a lot. That tracks. Remember when you were?
Because it's pure chaos. That's my favorite scene in the movie.
Do you remember when you were obsessed with arson? For like that 1 year. Not committing arson.
Just committing arson, but joking about arson.
The idea of committing arson, but like as a bit, like you weren't actually committing arson.
No, unless not at all. Listeners, I promise I have not set fire to anything intentional.
You've only set fire to the rain. Hey, Adele.
Watched it burn as I touched your face.
Is that what those
phrases?
Those
are the words.
As I touched your face.
As I touched your face. Guys, we found out that we don't get copyright if we sing on here.
Hey.
So now we can sing. It's so exciting.
Now we're going to sing more. Get ready.
Alright, so moving on to...
Forgot where we were even at with this. I completely forgot.
This is like a very big time jump here.
Okay.
But there were sightings as early as October and December of 2018.
Oh, so recent.
Really recent.
Heck yeah.
Like, just a few years ago.
Hey.
Many of these reports of suspected chupacabras came from Manipur, India. Many domestic animals, as well as poultry, so chickens, were killed in a suspicious manner similar to other chupacabra attacks, and several people reported that they had seen chupacabras. Ooh. However, a few forensic experts believe that it is street dogs that were responsible for the killing of the animals, but they were not able to fully prove that as well.
Interesting.
So again, like we've talked about a few times, a lot of people think these are just like mange dogs or just like ravenous animals, but it's still like very interesting how they take the nutrients of it. It's just very
just
weird.
Different. Like even if a dog has like mange, like even like a wild dog with mange, like it's still that'd be very different than something sucking the blood out of everything.
No, exactly, which is just like completely wild.
What?
So we're now going to get into the origin.
Ha ha ha.
All right, so a 5-year investigation by Benjamin Radford, documented in his 2011 book Tracking the Chupacabra, concluded that the description given by the original eyewitness in Puerto Rico, Madeline, was based on the creature Syl in the 1995 science fiction horror film Species. The alien creature Syl is nearly identical to Madeline's Chupacabra eyewitness account, and she had seen the movie before her report, and she said it was a creature that looked like the Chupacabra with spines on its back and all. The resemblance to the Chupacabra was really impressive, Madeline reported. Radford revealed that Madeline believed that the creature and events she saw in Species were happening in reality at Puerto Rico at the time. So he thinks she was projecting like this film she saw and being like, yep, I saw this creature.
Oh my.
Which is very, very interesting. But I could see how that could be a thing. But it also just makes me wonder again at the same time, did she see something? Because like, if it was dark out, right? Not to gas Madeline up real quick, but
we should be gassing her up. Heck yeah.
You know when things are really dark at night, you can't fully see what a creature looks like.
Yeah.
So if she saw something feasting on some sheep, and she can't fully see it, like there's no like street lights or like big stadium lights lighting up what's happening.
Yeah.
And she had watched the film fairly recently. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, did your mind make those characteristic features creatures or not.
Yeah, especially when you're scared, I feel like you can see that kind of stuff, but...
But then again, at the same time, other people in Puerto Rico said they saw what she was seeing. But it's like, was that movie so iconic that everyone just kind of like, this thing was still happening, but they said, yep, it looks like this because of this iconic movie, which is very interesting.
Also, I mean, there could have been someone really creative making that movie up, you know? Or it could have actually been seen, and that's why the movie was made. Like, it can go either way, you know? I believe it's real.
Yeah.
I believe you, Madeline.
But what makes this case, like, still very interesting to kind of give it, like, a little more, like, fruition is that the reports of the blood sucking by the Chupacabra have never been confirmed by, like, scientists or people who would, like, look into, like, dead animals, like, who work with, like, I believe it's called necropsy.
Okay.
Like, the study of, like, a dead body.
Well, basically. My question, you said, so no one's ever studied the dead animals then, is what you're telling me?
Well, no, they've studied it, but they've never been able to confirm what fully happened.
Okay.
They have not been able to explain. Like, they've analyzed over 300 reported victims of it, and they were not able to determine, like, if the animals, like some were done completely bled dry, other times they were not. It was very, very weird.
I had a thought before that. I was wondering, like, how they realized all the blood from their bodies was gone. Like, were they just, like, deflated? Or, like, are their gums all white instead of pink because there's no blood in them? Like, how did they first find out there was no blood in the bodies? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Were they just, like, very skinny? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it's very weird because, like, they've gotten a few animals there where, like, they've been, like, the blood was not sucked completely dry. But there's other times where they, like, had animals where it's, like, almost completely, like, gone.
I just want to know, like, how you can physically tell that, or do they have to do tests on all these animals? You know what I mean? Like, how do you look at something?
I think it's, like, just testing them, and, like, seeing, like, what's going on, and, like, honestly, open it up, see what's going on in there.
I was gonna say, like, we should look it up, but I don't want that on your search history. Like, that would look like something as serial... Like, oh, when animals are, like, sucked of all their blood, what do they look like? Like, you shouldn't look that up. Don't look that up.
But yeah, so basically, there's, like, a lot of debate. I think, like, we've talked about this before, like, whenever we do a cryptid case, all scientists are like, this is so dumb, you guys suck, and people are like, no, I saw this thing. So a lot of, like, scientists think that, and a lot of this stuff is that, like, this is the work of dogs or coyotes and, like, all this stuff, and then all the people... Like, a lot of people who have been, like, seeing them, like, basically, like, nope, you're wrong. Like, there's no possible way. Like, I know because you have to think, too, a lot of these people who have livestock are farmers who have done it for multiple years.
And they would be very familiar with animals at that point.
They would know what a coyote attack looks like.
Yeah.
If they saw a new animal in the way that it was attacking their animals, it's kind of like... You would know.
And also, they'd be very familiar with what kind of animals reside in the area they're living. Like, they would know exactly what's going on if it was different than what they usually experience. So, take that, scientists.
Exactly. So, it's very, very weird how, they kind of, like, jump to those, like, conclusions. Because you see it in horror movies, too, when there's, like, a creature eating livestock. I can't think of one off the top of my head. But you know that vision where the farm animal... Like, the farm animal comes out like they're the farmer. There's a sheep. Shaun the Sheep's a farmer.
It's actually the Barnyard movie. Back to the Barnyard. oh my god, what if that became a horror movie? It's
Shaun the Sheep and Make It Dark?
No, the Barnyard movie. But it becomes like a slasher film.
Oh.
Where they get their blood sucked.
Dead at the Barnyard. That's what it's called.
What's the main guy's name? The main cow? What's his name?
Mr. Moo Moo.
Do you remember that movie at all? Or the show? Did you ever watch it?
Yes, I did. I watched the show, too.
Why can I not think of his name right now? But he's still kicking. He lived through the ordeal.
But yes. Oh my gosh. So that's pretty much, there. The last thing I was gonna say, too, is that, with the appearance of a Chupacabra, this is the last thing that's important to note about him.
Okay.
There's people who have claimed that he's built like a kangaroo.
Ew.
Like, so tall. And, like, built. Have you ever seen a buff kangaroo? I feel like I've shown you.
I'm just thinking of Kangaroo Jack.
Like, oh my gosh. Let me show you.
I'm afraid to...
Google search of the day, buff kangaroo.
I'm concerned to see that, actually.
This is real. Look at this.
It's like it's gonna gross me out.
This kangaroo is jacked.
Ew!
Please
that
look up
cannot
buff
be real.
kangaroo, everybody.
It makes me want to throw up. Ew, Logan.
Imagine that's eating your livestock. What are you gonna do? That thing would beat
That thing's
you.
gonna beat me up.
That thing's gonna beat you up on the lunch court.
Can you put that on our Instagram story with no content? Well, maybe just say, like, and this is a hint for our next episode. And people are gonna be like,
hint for the next episode.
Yeah. Guess what the next episode is according to this picture.
Oh my god.
That is the most horrifying thing I've ever seen. I think that'd be more scary than a chupacabra. I don't like that at all.
Oh my god.
Why is he buff? Where is he working out, Logan?
He's going at it.
Ew, I'm uncomfortable. What were we saying? Oh, it looks like that.
Yeah, basically.
Ew.
I just feel like it's worth mentioning.
Oh,
okay. So the last thing we're going to talk about inside of like the main breakdown of the chupacabra is related legends to it. So there's a few places that have similar stories, because this goes back to characteristic features too. So there is a cryptid. I'm just mentioning these because like they're so small. There's no way we could do a whole case on them. It would be like a mini mystery, but I want to round them off now. Okay. So there is the Ozark Howler, which comes from Arkansas folklore. Arkansas. The Howler is a legendary creature that's said to dwell in the Ozarks. According to tradition, the creature is a bear-like in shape with a gray-colored shaggy coat. In December of 2015, the Arkansas television station 4029 News reported that it had received photographs purported to be images of the creature from a viewer. The station contacted the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, who responded that they had heard of no claims of sightings of the creature and said that they may have been a hoax. However, call records to the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission during the fall of 2014 include a reported sighting of an animal in Benton County. So they lied. They lied, like saying that like a year later that they have never had a report of something similar to that bear.
Don't trust nothing. I don't trust anything.
Right?
What the heck?
Don't trust the Fish Commission, I guess.
They're a bunch of liars. Honestly, I don't think I've ever heard of that one. The Ozark, what was the other part of it? What was that creature called? Ozark something?
The Ozark Howler.
Ozark Howler. I have never heard of that, nor have I ever seen an image of that. But that sounds scary.
But yeah, they believe that's like a similar like type of urban legend that's been talked about before.
Okay.
This one is called, let's see here. Okay. So I could be pronouncing this wrong. I should have looked into it before. But this one is called the Puchin. The Puchin. The Puchin is a creature from the Chile Puchin is a creature from the mythology of Chile, pertaining to the southern side of Chile. A much feared shape-shifting creature that can instantly change into animal form.
So like a skinwalker.
Like a skinwalker.
Oh, hey.
According to legend, it takes the hearts of its victims without leaving any marks on the body.
Oh, that's very similar. Ew.
It has often been described as a gigantic flying snake.
Great.
Which produced strange whistling sounds, while its gaze could paralyze an intended victim and permit it to suck its blood. It has often been reported as the cause of blood being sucked by your sheep. The creature, yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm in shock. Everything you said was not anything I've expected.
So maybe I should like rewind. So it's a flying snake.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Uh-huh.
Does it have wings, or is it just a snake that can fly? Like, can it levitate? Does it have wings?
I feel like I'm just imagining the most dramatic like snake flying through the air and it whistles. That just sounds like a weird toy in the sky. Ew.
Well, you would probably not know what that was. You'd probably think it was a balloon. Like, if you saw that thing at night, oh, it's a balloon.
You saw a snake in the sky?
I didn't see a snake in the sky. I'm saying if I did see a snake in the sky.
No, but if I saw a snake in the sky, I would not be well.
During broad daylight?
Yeah, imagine seeing, like, a black snake in the sky.
Oh my god, you see, like, the basilisk from Harry Potter?
That's what I was thinking.
Like, the giant snake.
I would... I'm so glad snakes can't fly. But this thing...
If snakes could fly, it'd be over. They used to be able to walk according to Christianity.
Don't say that.
That's even more terrifying to me.
With the legs. No, I used to be so scared of snakes. I'm like kind of okay now. but I had to hold one at a camp before.
I used to be so terrified of snakes.
Yeah.
The most scared in my entire
life. I'm like, they're actually going to kill me. And then this is either a life lesson not to volunteer or a lesson to volunteer. You have to experience crazy
depending
stuff.
on how you react
However
to
you want to take it. Basically, I was at the summer camp one time, and there was, like, some guy that came in for this camp. And, like, I didn't really know what he had. He had a bunch of, like, cages and stuff, but we couldn't see inside of them, right? So this guy wanted someone to volunteer, and me being the little, like, peppy gal I was, I was like,
sure.
I'm like, oh, pick me, I volunteer. And then I got up to the front, and the guy was like, do you know what you're volunteering for? And I was like, no. And he's like, okay, well, you've already volunteered.
Like, you can't turn back now.
You can't turn back now. This man grabs the biggest snake and puts it in my hand at, like, age 8.
You're joking.
I'd show you a picture. I have a picture of it. This guy, his name is Doug. Doug the snake guy. I still have a picture of me holding the snake that I volunteered to hold. I'll show it to you after the show.
Post on Instagram.
I will when we post this. Don't let me forget. I'll post it on our story. But this guy casually had me hold a snake, and I'm like little. I'm panicking, holding the snake.
You're like crying. How old are you here?
I was probably like 8.
8 years old.
But, like, that's a time when you're like, if I touch a snake, I'll throw up.
He probably thought that was the funniest thing he saw that year. Like, that was probably the funniest moment to him.
Can you imagine me? I get so excited. I was like, ooh, pick me, I volunteer. Because everyone else is like, no, not me. Like, they're trying to act cool by not. So take that however you want it. You can either experience life by volunteering, or you can be traumatized by volunteering. You choose. But
there you go.
But now I'm kind of okay with snakes as long as they're not venomous. But, like, I'm not going to pick it up casually. If someone handed me a night snake, I'd be like, okay, at a distance.
Well, I think what's terrifying about this one is that, like, the idea that it just, like, flies and it could, like, swoop, like, it could swoop into our podcast studio right now.
Yeah, and it whistles.
And it's just, like, it could, like, take our hearts from us and suck our blood dry.
Also, remind me, is this one that also shapeshifts, or is that the one before this one?
Yes, it can also shapeshift.
So, like, a shape-shifting
flying snake that can drink blood.
That drinks blood and whistles.
And rips your heart out.
I feel like this is also so dramatic and, like, stupid and, comedic. But I'm also imagining, do you remember in music class, well, never mind, you were homeschooled, but you probably still had this experience.
Wow.
Well, I was gonna make a reference to, like, elementary school, but you probably use them when you're older. Like those little tube things you spin around and they whistle. Those long tubes. Mm-hmm. You don't know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea what that is.
It's because it's from, like, elementary music class, but I'll show you after so you can make the reference. But I'm imagining a snake doing that,
like a woo.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing.
The little whistly thing. It's like a long tube with, like, little ridges. It's really long and bendy.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it a little better.
I'll show you after, but
it's probably in the Diary of Wimpy Kid.
I'm imagining with the snake, but it's a snake and it's in the sky doing that. It's going.
It just makes sound effects. It's like
but it's whistling.
I can't do a snake.
I can open the Chamber of Secrets. I know what he says. He goes, when Harry's speaking to the basilisk.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, all you Harry Potter stands out there. You were saying.
But no, yeah, I just think this story is just so wild and one of the most fun mythological creatures. But also, point of knowing, it comes from Chile, which is like the furthest down. They said that they've reported Chupacabras, and they've attested to this maybe being what they saw. But if I feel like if I had to fight either this thing, this snake creature, or the Chupacabra, I would like.
Which would you choose?
Oh, Chupacabra.
To
hands
fight?
down. Yeah. I couldn't take on a giant snake that could just rip my heart out. I have a chance with the Chupacabra.
What about a giant reptilian-looking dog thing?
I could probably do it. If he's like a kangaroo size, I would have more of a fight than with a snake. I'm just saying.
Why don't you just get a big pair of scissors and just...
The snake?
Yeah. Just cut him in half.
What if he multiplies? What if he becomes 2 snakes?
Don't say that.
He can become 2 snakes.
Can you imagine?
He can multiply.
You get the keys to not the key. You get the scissors to a city to cut the rope, and you just cut the snake instead.
And the city multiplies.
And you're like, oh man, I created an issue here. It's just a bunch of air snakes. Cut. But do they grow after they're cut?
No.
What's the situation there?
What did that happen when you got your hair cut? Like, you cut your hair and it multiplies. And
what do you think? Who's that Aphrodite with the snake hair? Am I stupid? You know this stuff.
Medusa.
Medusa. I knew I wouldn't know.
Well, that's Medusa mythology, I think. If you cut off one of her snake heads, they just grow back. Just like Cerberus, I think. Cerberus grows more heads if you kill him, I think.
That makes sense. See, I was onto something. Just.
That's why you can't kill Cerberus on his head. You gotta.
What do you stab him?
I think the heart. go for the heart.
Man, just like a vampire, just like a chupacabra.
Just like a vampire.
Is that how you kill a chupacabra? A stake to the heart.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, those are some adjacent legends of the chupacabra.
That's chaotic and I love it.
But now we're gonna get into one of the most fun articles that I looked at here.
Yay.
So this is the abominable chupacabra.
Ooh.
And this comes from a New York Times article, actually.
Oh, that's very official then.
Yeah, very
This thing's
official.
basically real, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, basically. If it comes from the New York Times, it's real.
It's gotta be real.
So the Himalayas have their Yeti. Britain has its crop circles. New Jersey has its legendary Jersey Devil. And Puerto Rico has the Chupacabra. This goat-sucker has been credited with strange attacks on goats, sheep, rabbits, horses, and chickens since the mid-1970s. And the attacks happen mostly at night, leaving the animals devoid of blood. Though the first references to these attacks were in the 1970s, the biggest surge of reports date to the mid-1990s. Let's see here. Sightings offer wildly differing versions of the Chupacabra. It has gray, scraggly hair and resembles a kangaroo or wolf, or walks upright on three-toed feet.
Ew, not three toes.
Some swear it hops from tree to tree branch. Ew. And even flies, leaving behind in the tradition of old Lucifer the stench of sulfur.
Oh.
So a lot of people think it's like a demonic thing too.
I'm learning so much. I feel like my only understanding of the Chupacabra before this was I thought it was like some like little hairy looking thing. Like I didn't realize it was all big and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And jumping from trees.
Yeah,
absolutely
right.
Not.
It's so scary.
Ew.
It peers through large oval, sometimes red eyes, and smells like a wet dog as its reptilian tongue flicks into the night air. Ew. It has, according to some, attacked humans, ripped through screen windows, and jumped family dogs at picnics.
Not family dog. People are at a picnic seeing this. You're telling me I'm at a
the
family
Chupacabras
picnic?
In just broad daylight, just hanging out.
Attacking my dog? I would lose it. What?
So yeah.
Oh no.
I can't imagine. So anthropologists note that legends of blood-sucking creatures permit history from the werewolves of France to the vampires of Eastern Europe. Even the ancient Mayans included a vampire deity in their Parthenon.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's
I didn't know that either. That's very interesting. So it sounds like it dates back like quite a while too. Mm-hmm. According to a 1995 article in the San Juan Star, island lore abounds with monsters predating the Chupacabra. The Kamagolo was a version of Bigfoot, but smaller and a vegetarian. So like a nice Chupacabra. There you go.
Little guy.
It was particularly sweet on Kagolo, a baby plantain that springs up near its parent plant. In the early 1970s, the Mocha vampire also attacked small animals, but opinion differs on whether it was an alien, animal, or really a vampire. Which this goes into some more stuff with some swamp creatures. But this is the Gara Diablo that emerged from the ooze at night and wreaked havoc on the population. Also struck fear in the 1970s. The sea demon was described as having the face of a bat, the skin of a shark, and a human-like body.
That's horrifying.
I gotta say, out of all the cryptids we've talked about, this is like the most interesting.
The most interesting, the grossest, and also one of the more frightening. I'll say it. Mm-hmm. A face of a bat.
Yeah.
And shark skin.
Shark skin. Mm-hmm.
Literally, that's like sandpaper.
It's a sea demon. Imagine going, like, swimming through the ocean. You see that thing run by you.
No thanks. Some people are scared of sharks. I'm scared of this thing. Absolutely not.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, so zoologists have said, let's see here. Looking here. Yeah. So yeah, this is like the last part of like the talking of the different types of chupacabras. So what to make of a chupacabra? Above the clamor of the fringe elements, one hears the more skeptical voice of reason. Zoologists have suggested that the alleged condition of some chupacabra victims may actually be the result of exaggerated retellings of works of less mysterious animals, such as tropical species of bat known to feed on the blood of small animals. Even some bird species are known to eat warm-blooded animals as well.
Oh.
Skeletal remains of an alleged chupacabra have also been found in Chile, were determined to be those of a wild dog. This, however, doesn't explain the sightings of the hairy, ravenous beasts. Then again, there's never been an accounting for the Loch Ness Monster either.
Yeah. Maybe they just live way longer than anything else.
Yeah, so there's a few things that are just very interesting, just like all the different side species that come from the chupacabra. That's just very strange to me.
It's also like there has to be more than one kind, considering
Mm-hmm.
all these different people are seeing like something of the same thing.
No, exactly.
Like there's different subspecies of it. It seems like.
Mm-hmm. It's very strange.
I don't want to see it.
Okay, so there is a couple more here. So, all right, so these are now going to go over to a couple of the sightings that we were talking about from before.
Ooh.
So this is from the Texas Observer, and this is about chupacabras that have been found in Texas.
Okay.
All right, so the first time Phyllis Canyon saw the chupacabra, it was slipping through the pastures on her South Central Texas ranch in broad daylight.
Not broad daylight.
It was June of 2007.
What a year.
What a great year.
What a year for television.
What a great year. I think that's when What's New Scooby-Doo was out.
I think so. 2007.
Wow, she was probably like, that's from the Scooby-Doo episode.
I remember you. You were on that episode of Scooby-Doo. Can I have your autograph?
So the doctor, she was also a doctor and a hunter, and she had just returned from Africa. She'd seen some odd things there, but nothing like this. A hairless canine figure with blue-gray flesh and bony limbs.
Ew.
Soon after, she and her husband found one of their chickens with its throat torn open, apparently drained of blood.
Oh.
Over the next few days, the mystery predator struck again, leaving what appeared to be an extinguished chicken across the ranch. Ooh. So just like amounts of chickens just like everywhere with no blood inside of them.
That's a mess.
Wild.
Ew.
That's like a setup for a horror movie right there.
That is. Also, if I saw that, I'd be like, well, guess I'm moving.
Well, I guess we're giving up our ranch.
I can see where, like, the alien idea would come from with this. Mm-hmm. Like, that's... And I feel like it's reminding me of my only understanding of Nope that I have not seen yet. But, like, the commercials.
Yeah, no, that's definitely in the movie. Just, like, the small ideas, like, coming into fruition. You're kind of like, I don't like this very much.
That vibe.
So, yeah. So, this actually goes back to Nope 2, actually. This is a slight spoiler for you. I'm so sorry. But she had also set up cameras hoping to catch it in the act. When that failed, she asked her neighbors to let her know if they saw, captured, or killed it. Can you imagine going to your neighbors and just being like, hey, this thing's been eating our chickens. Did you happen to get it or see it or kill it?
Can you please
tell me you killed it?
Where's it at? Can I see it?
Can I see it? Like, where is it? I just need to know. I'm feeling so crazy right now.
Can you imagine seeing something like that up close? Like, if it was dead and you had the dead body of something like that?
Like a chupacabra? I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be like, get out of here.
Well, because she said it was like a blue-gray, like, skin.
Mm-hmm.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
Bony. Ew.
So, funny enough, in mid-July, a neighboring rancher called to say that one of the creatures had been hit by a car near his property.
No.
As she stood puzzling over the scrawny body, they got another call about another strange carcass, this one closer to their ranch house. She sped back in her car, and there it was, thin, hairless, and bizarre.
That's weird.
She loaded it into her tractor and took it back to the ranch to photograph it. That brush with a celebrity had changed her life. We've done documentaries on National Geographic, History Channel, Discovery, Animal Planet. We've done about 13 shows overseas. We've done about 60 documentaries in the States, she said. Everybody wants to know more about the chupacabra.
Ooh, what's her name? Phyllis? Is that what her name was?
Yes, it is Phyllis Canyon.
I'm gonna look for one of her documentaries, actually. That seems cool.
So this is the photo of what she found there.
I'm scared.
Turning this over.
Ew.
That is weird, right?
It does look like a dog.
It is dog-like, but why is it so, like... Why does the skin look like that? Why,
That grosses me out,
It looks like, honestly, like... the United States version of a chupacabra. Yeah. Like, at least that idea. It is very, very crazy.
That's not good.
The chupacabra is among the most popular of the mystery beasts. An integral part of Texas folklore is...
Just me hitting stuff, don't mind me.
You're just scared because I'm talking about Texan chupacabras.
Oh my gosh.
And a semi-regular guest star in sensational cable documentaries and has been in numerous local news reports. For 10 years, legends of the blood-sucking monster have been a staple of rural life throughout Texas and throughout the central part of the state. Fueled by the succession of alleged carcasses, sightings, and tall tales that have been found in finding these things. Texas is known to be a chupacabra factory, one of the most states associated with the said vampire.
Let's go to
Texas. I think I talked about in the beginning that Texas is like one of the breeding grounds for a lot of
Let's go. Let's go on a little trip.
Let's go to Texas to find the chupacabra.
Yeehaw!
Oh my god, part 2 episode. Two-parter.
Yeehaw.
Round 2.
You can't stop us. Can you imagine us in Texas? We get kicked out so easily.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's so, so most cryptids, mystery animals of folklore do not leave much in the way of physical evidence, surfacing instead in blurred photographs or ambiguous tracks. So a lot of people who've said they've seen a chupacabra only have footprints or like maybe a photo that's like kind of blurry. But the Texas chupacabras have a way of leaving behind bodies, or perhaps bodies in Texas have a way of becoming chupacabras.
I hate that idea. Ew.
In 2004, 2007, and 2009, several chupacabra carcasses popped up in the central part of the state, many with warty skin and pussy teeth, basically.
Ew.
All of them, including Phyllis, have been subjected to DNA testing, and the results have always remained the same. They believe that it's a mangy, sickly coyote or a dog. But again, going back to like that kind of idea, why is this dog so ravenous? Where does this stuff come from, and how is it sucking out the blood of it? So even though it's dog-like, it's still in the sense a chupacabra, which I find that's so interesting, because this is like in a weird way based in true crime in some result.
Because things are dying, but
yeah,
I don't know. It was also making me think like this could also be something similar to like a werewolf or like a vampire. Like if this creature would bite a human, do you think a human when they die would turn into a chupacabra? I think that could be a thing.
I mean, it's very possible. Like if it's vampire like already, like and vampires are known to turn, like I could absolutely see that being a result.
Like what if? Or if it bites a certain creature, it just turns into it.
Yeah,
that's weird to think about.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. So that's really like a lot of that talking point. I think it's just so interesting. I didn't know that like Texas had chupacabras, and that's how they refer to them. Like even if they are wild coyote dogs, Texans call them chupacabras. Like that idea of like chupacabra like got into my livestock the other day. Like that's casual conversation.
That's like the Mothman flew into my house the other night.
Chill. Yeah, right?
It's so chill.
Yeah, like, just what? Super chill, like
like that's not a chill convo.
Yeah. I really wish we had a Pittsburgh cryptid. We gotta make one.
I know.
We should make one. That'd be fun. And it could be our mascot.
Oh my gosh. We'll think of something. We should actually look to see if there are any like creepy
Pittsburgh
folklore
cryptids.
Yeah, there has to be something. I feel like the closest thing to Pennsylvania would be the Mothman, right? Because that's West Virginia, is it not? Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be the closest. I want a cryptid. A pet cryptid.
Oh my god, that'd be so cute, actually.
Oh, I just realized I picked the perfect day to wear my cryptid shirt.
Oh my god, you do? The shirt I got you.
Yeah, Logan got me a cute little cryptid shirt.
Why don't you read it for everyone listening?
It's upside down, but it says, "Be the cryptid you wish to see in the woods."
And that's us. We're the cryptids we want to see in the woods.
I wish they had a chupacabra, but it's fine. It's very cute, though. Love.
All right. So I got one last thing for us to cover, if that is okay with you.
That's perfectly great with me.
This one's fancy. I pulled, for someone who thought he was very underprepared for this case, I pulled out all the stops, all the tricks.
You have been pulling all the stops.
This article comes from National Geographic. Okay. I had to sign up for a subscription to get it.
Oh, the worst.
Because they only give you 3.
That's
before you have to pay. If anyone was wondering, I had to pay 33 cents for this article.
I thought you were going to say $33. I was like,
can you imagine? We don't even make that much from a single
episode. I'm like, $33? I'm glad it's only 33 cents. Breaking the bank over here.
So this one is called Chupacabra Science: How Evolution Made a Mythical Creature.
Ooh.
So, tales of a mysterious monster that sucks the blood of livestock have exploded throughout all of Mexico, the US Southwest, and even China since the mid 1990s. Um, Flesh and blood chupacabras have allegedly been found recently, especially since in the month of June. In almost all these cases, the monsters have turned out to be coyotes suffering from a very severe case of mange, a painful, potentially fatal skin disease that we had talked about earlier that can cause the animal's hair to fall out and skin to seem to shrivel and have those cravings that we talked about. For some scientists, the explanations for supposed chupacabras is sufficient, and this is quoted by Barry O'Connor, University of Michigan entomologist who had studied chupacabras and parasites. I don't think we need to look any further or to think that there's yet some other explanation for these observations. Likewise, wildlife disease specialist Kevin Keel has seen images of alleged chupacabra corpses and clearly recognized it as a coyote, but he said he can imagine how others might not see it that way. He goes, it still really looks like a coyote, just a really sorry excuse for a coyote.
That's mean. Just a stupid little coyote.
Yeah, but again, this goes back to the idea that there's literally scientists who are like, yeah, it looks like a coyote to me. I've studied animals for a really long time that looks like a coyote, but even the scientists are being
like barely.
Yeah, they look weird.
Yeah.
This is weird looking.
That's a whack looking coyote.
Yeah. I wouldn't think it's a chupacabra if I saw it in the woods, but then I've been looking at coyotes and foxes with mange for quite a while. A layperson, however, might be confused as to its identity, which I think is a fair, kind of place to be at, how a modern person may think that. But again, going back on the more supernatural side, if a farmer sees this thing and knows what livestock looks like,
they've seen it way more, I'm sure.
They're probably just as expertised in it.
Also, that it's seen in other in other ways. Like, it's not just seen as this coyote looking thing. Like, it's been seen as a buff kangaroo in a little aqua for one.
Yeah, so they believe that a lot of these coyotes who became chupacabras speculate that it might be mites. And this is where it's weird. They believe that it's mites that were originally in humans, mites that humans had, then gave to domesticated dogs. Then the domesticated dogs gave it to coyotes, then foxes, then wolves in the wild. So this is almost kind of a zombie-like in the sense too, that this mites and these manges causes this ravenous skin disease and just all these things. It's very strange to think there's a scientific explanation for the craving of this vampiristic blood-sucking
That's a
craving.
good point, because I feel if they had mites or something, or some sort of parasite, parasites would want to suck blood and that kind of stuff. It's almost like they'd become big ticks.
Yeah, exactly.
Sucking the blood of creatures.
Yeah, because O'Connor says too, he says primates are the original hosts for the mites. Our evolutionary history with mites help us to keep scabies in check so that it doesn't get out of hand like it does when it gets into other animals. So because of the science we have as humans, we're able to keep that volume down. But with animals, it's a little harder because there's such a high population.
Especially wild animals. How are you going to be controlling that, you know? Oh.
And this is where it gets weird too. These scientists have also said that mites have been evolving. This University of Georgia's Kevin Keel says the parasite has had time to optimize its attack on humans as not to kill us, which would eliminate our usefulness to mites, he said. In non-human animals, Sarcoptes hasn't figured out that balance yet. In coyotes, for example, the reaction can be so severe that it causes hair to fall out and blood vessels to constrict, adding general fatigue and even exhaustion.
Oh.
I think this is what I love about this case. It's just the idea that there's scientists have proof of it, but it still feels like such a weird phenomenon.
Yeah, it's still very cryptidy, and it's interesting to see a very scientifically researched cryptid that's proven to be something out there.
But we still don't have a full explanation for the alien-like creature. This is just the United States coyote one.
It's just weird that there's so many different kinds. That's what makes it a weird. It's what is that? It's Bigfoot if it were everywhere and different looks.
Yeah. So this is the last part of this. This is called the evolution of a legend. So, Lorraine Coleman, director of the International Cryptozoology Museum.
I love these cryptozoologists.
I know, we need to make them our best friends.
I want to become a cryptozoologist as a career. Can we do it?
Let's do it. After
Is it
this,
too late?
we'll start studying. Yeah, it's never too late.
It's never too late.
It's never too late for a dream career.
I'm gonna look into on Indeed. I typed in cryptozoologist. Jobs on jobs.
But this place is actually in Portland, Maine. We should go.
I want to go to Maine.
The Crypto Museum.
Well, Benjamin and I have been wanting to go to Maine, so like.
Take me with you. If you go to the Cryptozoology Museum without me, I'd be so mad. Yeah, I'd kill you like a chupacabra. Like I would suck your blood dry.
Yeah, so don't do it.
Don't do it.
Okay, I will.
So Lauren Coleman agreed that many chupacabra sightings, especially the more recent ones, could be explained as a way of appearance by mangy coyotes, dogs, and coyote dog hybrids, or otherwise known as coy dogs.
Coy dogs.
I just love cryptozoologists. They gotta come up with something so fun, like
it's a
coy dog.
It's a little coy dog. So cute.
So Coleman says, it's certainly a very good explanation. And this is where she gags everyone. She goes, but it doesn't mean explains the whole legend.
Hey, what's up, Queen?
Get her.
She
That's
said
our
mystery
queen right
files.
There. She said, I support the mystery files.
She said, I actually support this show.
She said, for example, there was over 200 original Chupacabra reports in Puerto Rico in 1995. In 1995, Chupacabras was understood to be a bipedal creature that was 3 feet, about a meter tall, and covered in short gray hair with spikes out of its back, Coleman said. But as if in a game of telephone, the description of the Chupacabra began to change in the late 1990s due to mistakes, mistranslations, and news reports. He said, Oh,
what?
Lauren's a guy. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Lauren, I'm so sorry. You're still my best friend, Lauren Coleman.
Lauren King.
You're a king, and I'm sorry. But
it's okay.
I appreciate you.
You can be whoever you want to be, Lauren. It's okay.
So by the 2000, the original Chupacabra had largely been replaced by the new canine ones, which is what we've covered kind of. It's just this idea of like, oh yeah, like this is like a coyote. Like there's no Chupacabra, but it's like it's changed and been diluted.
Yeah.
Coleman says it was actually a big mistake. Because of the whole confusion with most of the media reporting Chupacabras now as dogs or coyotes with mange, you really don't even hear any good reports from Puerto Rico or Brazil anymore like you did in the early days. Those reports have disappeared.
Okay.
And the reports of canids with mange have increased. First, Chupacabras, monkeys, or movie madness. So what explains the original Chupacabra myth? One possibility, Coleman said, is that people imagine things after watching or hearing about the alien horror film that we talked about before in the summer of 1995.
I want to watch it.
Yeah, this might be a fun one to watch just to see what people are talking about.
See what the vibe is.
If you look at the date when the movie Species opened in Puerto Rico, you will see that it overlaps with the first explosion of reports there. Then compare the images of Natasha Henstridge's creature character, Syl, which is the one from before that the original girl Madeline said that she found. And you will see the unmistakable spikes out the back and match those of the first images of the Chupacabra in 1985. Another theory is that the Puerto Rico creatures were an escaped troop of ravenous monkeys on the island, which often stand up on their hind legs.
Okay, Rugrats movie.
Coleman says there was a population of ravenous monkeys being used in blood experiments in Puerto Rico at the time, and that troop could have gotten loose.
Ew.
And he finishes off by saying it could be something that's simple, or it could be something much, much more interesting. Because now that we know that there are new animals being discovered all the time.
Hey.
So that's kind of what they were talking about. So they were looking at the scientist side, and then also, I really like that article a lot, because it covers true crime and supernatural with a bit of cryptid.
Yeah.
I like that he brought up the idea that there's this whole idea of like, well, yeah, there's not going to be Chupacabra sightings anymore, because if you say you saw a Chupacabra now, everyone's going to deny you because of all the science that happened in the United States. So that's why there's no reports about it anymore in like Puerto Rico or in Chile. So yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So that's kind of like a wild overview of everything Chupacabra. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I feel like I'm just very impressed that there's so many different sides of it, and also like scientists have even looked into it. Like it's so valid that scientists have been looking into it.
Yeah, which I think this is the most we've ever gotten from a scientist, like with a cryptid case. Because even when we did the Loch Ness one, they were like, "Well, it's Photoshop." Like they've never done full like investigations on an actual cryptid creature.
They're not completely denying it exists. They're saying like these weird creatures do exist.
Well, the thing is, they do technically exist. But they're also known as coyotes or dogs too, at least in their version of the story.
Yeah.
Like they're chupacabras in the sense that they're like a Texan chupacabra, which I think
love
is just so wild.
They've been seen like all around the world, and I feel like I do believe that they have existed everywhere, and they are like a cryptid thing. But I feel like there could also be like other variations that are these like coyote dog things that are still considered chupacabra, but maybe they're like coyotes that were affected by chupacabra, so they became a chupacabra, like the vampire situation we were talking about.
I'd like to believe in both, for sure.
Yeah, like I believe every single variation of this thing. I love it.
I gotta say, this is like one of the cooler, I think, cryptid cases we've covered, just because there's so much factual evidence, and that's why I love this.
It's factual, but there's still like this air of mystery.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's so good. Also, I want to shout out that snake thing again, because that's gonna mess me up.
Shout out to Miss Snake. What was her name? The Puchin.
That's gonna mess me up for a while.
Puchin.
They're both gonna mess me up and the buff kangaroo. A lot of that's gonna give me nightmares. So imagining this is a buff kangaroo, the chupacabra, is kind of horrifying.
Well, there's so many different variations. It's just so like fun.
Yeah. So good. I believe in it.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of made my thoughts known in this episode when I think about it. But going off of that, like logistically, even the idea of the sill being like the chupacabra they saw in 1995, the alien-like creature from that iconic movie. I still think there was something eating the livestock, even if it was the coyote dogs that like had mange that kind of like evolved into a way more ravenous disease than what it used to be.
Yeah.
Because going back to what I said, like if it's nighttime out and you're just seeing a shadow, your brain's going to fill in spaces.
Yeah.
Like that's why a lot of like children sometimes will say like you see ghosts, or like how we make images in the clouds.
Yeah.
It is like our imaginations start to run.
Like they're filling in the blanks of what their brain's trying to put together.
But it's still true crime in the sense of like it's still like happening. Like it's still a big phenomenon that has happened. As early as 2019, we had our last case talking about these chupacabras like killing livestock.
It's just weird that it is so modern and like old at the same time. But I feel like it's just so different because, like, you could just say, yeah, these are just, like, creepy manged canines out there, whatever.
Exactly.
But it's just very strange, like, going back to the beginning of the case when it talks about, like, the specific punctures and, like, the way, like, the blood was sucked out.
The way that it had 3 in it. And they were all in, like, the same chest area.
Like, it's just hard to say, that's some coyote that has mange or, like... Yeah. Because it's like, well, then how'd they do that?
Yeah.
If that's not something you'd see on a normal coyote, why would you see it on a coyote with skin issues?
Yeah.
You know?
If I had to honestly pick a side in this story, I think everyone's right. I think so everyone's story is truthful.
Yeah.
Even if Madeline made it up and saw the sill in that creature movie, that's still her truth. That's still her truth.
Madeline was speaking her truth, and all the people denying her, I'm about to deny you jerk.
She still saw something.
She
apparently.
did.
So, like, and these farmers have seen it, and we've seen the coyote dogs, and Texans fully believe that they are, like, a phenomenon of an animal, that we have proof that they exist, which is the most craziest part about this case.
What if the coyote dogs were the first branch of the evolution of something turning into
like a baby, like baby chupacabra,
and then as soon as it gets like older, maybe it gets more
like
suckery.
It evolves.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
Or that's the first evolution of it. It's either like a baby version that's going to like turn into something, or that's like the first evolution of this creature.
It has the craziest Pokemon evolution.
Yeah.
It's like a coyote, and in its final form, it's like a sea creature with like spinal cords like poking out of the back.
Ew.
That's so wild.
I love it. Kind of fun. But yeah, I believe this thing is real. I believe it's still out there, and I believe all the different variations. Crazy.
Yeah, but I guess that the case of the Chupacabra will forever remain a mystery.
Yeah. Heck
that was
yeah.
a beautiful one.
That was stunning. Are we singers, I think?
I think we are. We're going to become a musical podcast from now on, I'm pretty sure.
We are a musical podcast.
We basically are already.
We are a musical, and I love it for us.
All right, this was episode 8 of the Summer Tapes, and we will see you next week for episode 9 for Tiffany's case.
Come back, kids.
We're getting to the ending stretch of the Summer Tapes.
Yeah, and then we'll get into spooky season.
Spooky season.
It's already spooky season for me, but
spooky season year round here at the Mystery Files.
Hey, partay. But
all right.
Thank you for joining us, guys. We love you the most. Thanks for listening. Go check out our social media at the Mystery Files _ on Instagram, and check out our Redbubble shop inside of our little Instagram bio. We've got all our stuff linked there. We love you, and until next time, stay creepy, pals.
Goodbye.
Bye.